today to moderate this event where these courageous young adults want to share what it's like to grow up as a young adult in the community today, the types of pressures they face, and how they manage those pressures. So we'll begin by having the panelists introduce themselves. And I also wanted to say that Lydia Haddad felt very sorry she couldn't be here today. She's not feeling well. Okay, so we'll start with James.
All right. Hi, everyone. First, I just want to say thanks to Monique and Ricky for hosting us today. Really, thanks for opening your home. And I just wanted to thank the Center and the Safe Foundation for putting this together. It's an amazing event. I just want you all to know that I think what you're going to hear from most of us today is that we're not experts on any of these issues at all. We're just here to kind of open up a dialogue, start the conversation, and really hope to take away the shame and the stigma that a lot of people face when it comes to social pressures in the community. And hope to share my experiences with this and acknowledge that I don't have the answers to a lot of this, but hope to be helpful in the ways I deal with it. So that's me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarina Shalom. I want to start by thanking the Safe Foundation and the Center for putting the Stoop Talk together, and Monique and Ricky Chira for opening up your home to us. Just as James alluded to, we as panelists are no professionals in this field. We don't know the ins and outs and the tips and tricks and secrets to avoiding social pressures, but the truth is there is no avoiding pressures. They come, they go, sometimes stronger than others. Sometimes they bring stress, they bring fear. And as a 20-year-old myself, I find myself in the peak of being in the scene, being in, quote unquote, the social scene, whether it's parties, datings, events, and with that comes many pressures. And for me, social anxiety arose, and I had to and still have to manage it. And I have trouble managing it sometimes. But this talk in itself is a primary validation that I'm not alone and no one is alone. And so I hope this conversation allows for some more comfort in opening up about social pressures and eventually combating them together as a community.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maurice Shalom. First off, obviously, I want to say thank you to Ricky and Monique for opening their homes. Thank you to SAFE and the Center for putting together this event, and anyone else that I forgot to thank, I thank you. Before I even start with an opening remarks, I think everyone would agree, this isn't meant to be kind of woe is me, I'm complaining about, social pressures and what we deal with. The reality is we live in the best community probably in the world, but with that, with being in this tight-knit community, it comes with a lot of pressures, and that's kind of what we're trying to speak about. Yesterday when everyone was putting up their flyers on the story, people saw my face, and so they're like, what do you know about social pressure? Who are you? And the point is, I don't know anything. But I always found it helpful that, I deal with stuff. I live my life trying to impress other people. Everything I do is dictated by the want to make other people happy and stuff like that. So, I deal with that. And I just find it helpful to speak about it to anyone that will listen. And I think ultimately that's really the point. So it's not about we're not giving solutions. We're just speaking about it. And hopefully at the end, this turns into some sort of Q&A forum where other people can open up about things that they're dealing with and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a first conversation of many, hopefully. So we'll get started with a topic I'm sure everybody in this room has found stressful at some point in their lives, which is dating. And I would say, what would you describe as maybe the top 2 or 3 challenges in that area?
I guess I'll start. So the first one is I guess the actual phone call, because I'm afraid of being obviously told no, but to me, I'm actually afraid of being told no because I don't want to be I just want to be told no on my own merits and not something that's maybe out of my control, maybe it's not what my family wants, this and that. So that's one. But I'm probably even more afraid of being told yes, because then I start thinking, all right, now, how much empty time is there going to be where I have to like make some BS up, where like I have to make a joke and this and that. Like I start sweating like, oh my God. Like, so I guess like that's like my main thing with dating. I know you asked for 2 or 3, but I'm just going to stick with 1.
Thank you. Anybody want to add to that?
Yeah, I think also entering a relationship and having the idea in mind of like, do I have to marry this person, or how far is it going to go? You know, if I break up with him, is it going to ruin ties that our families have or the friendship that we had? So I think me personally, I definitely go into it overthinking.
Yeah, and I guess it's a great point. Also, something that I deal with a lot, and people who know me know, but the community, nobody specifically, just the community in general jumps 10 steps ahead when it comes to dating. And it's like 2 dates in and you're, getting married. Hey, how about you guys? You look great. And it's just a lot of pressure that's not needed. It's like leaves no room for the kids to really get to know each other, form a relationship, figure out what you actually are, if you actually like the person. So it's just pressure compounded on pressure.
So we're hearing about the anxiety of what do I say during the date, right? Or am I ruining a lifetime friendship that I've had by taking this chance? Or are we already announced on social media, like Mabruk to James and whoever the girl is? So what I'm wondering is, so I'm sure many people have faced these pressures, and what do you do? Like, how do you deal with that? So I'm gonna actually start with Maurice. So Maurice, you said you're more afraid of the yes, right? So now what do you do when you get the yes and
I actually just don't make the phone call. No, seriously. Like, it's something that I deal with. Like, I get so nervous about it that like either I'll push it off like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months, and I'll make up an excuse in my head, like, she doesn't see me like that, she, this and that, and like, so I actually like, it's something that like I deal with where I just don't make the call. Like, that's what it is.
That's so interesting also from the girl's perspective, who's thinking and putting that social pressure on herself. Like, I don't know why he's not calling me. I really thought we hit it off, right? So that's like kind of both sides are having that. Did you want to say something, James?
Yeah, no, I understand that 100%. A lot of people I know deal with the fear of rejection more than anything. Is like, if I ask this girl out, then she says no to me, and I see her at a party, is it weird? Is it awkward? But I guess the general answer is I don't have the answer on what I was saying before about like it getting too serious too fast. And I mean, people who know me know I deal with that, and that's an issue. But it's a work in progress, is the honest. Like, I try to figure out where I'm at, take it slow, best I can, but sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
And kind of having the ability to make up your own mind, right? And say, just because other people might be moving a relationship along doesn't mean it necessarily needs to be moved along. So I think this also ties in maybe with the pressures of going to parties, right? And are there pressures of, let's say, dating that are connected in any way to the pressure of going to a party and meeting someone? And did you meet someone? Answering those kind of questions.
Okay, I'll start. I think as a girl, there's definitely that idea of, did you go to the party? Did you meet somebody? Did you hit it off? Did you dance with somebody? I think there's not a lot of, did you have fun? Did you enjoy it for yourself? Did you, relax and take a break from work or from school? It's not a personal thing. It's really a lot of, how did you interact with others? Being, for the girl, how did you interact with boys? And I feel bad about that part, because I think that parties is a time that we can really just let loose and have fun. And, it's summer, like, that's the point. And so that's definitely something that I feel bad about, that there's the enjoyment aspect is missing a little bit.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. As a guy looking at these, like, girls coming to a party, you could feel the pressure from them coming, like, from their parents, from their friends, whoever it may be. Did you talk to some guy? Did you dance with the guy? But it's also from the guys to the girls as well. And it consumes the party instead of letting it be an actual party. It's about meeting people. Everything's about meeting people. And it's just, you don't get to enjoy it. I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and sorry, well, so to me, it's more, macro than micro, meaning I don't go party to party and be like, all right, I got to meet someone this party. It's like I'll go into the summer and it's like saying like, all right, I kind of hope like this is like my last summer doing this, or I'll go into, let's say, a trip saying like I really don't want to go to Aruba this year, like that, like or pass, or like, so it's less like, so I'm not going to a party on Sunday and just being like, all right, I better meet someone. Like my pressure with parties is more just like I want to make sure I'm getting invited. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We'll get there. So all three of you, from what I'm hearing, is we have this overarching pressure, which is that a party might be tied to being asked a bunch of questions. Who did you meet? Or maybe an innocent dance with somebody or conversation might be misconstrued. And once again, you're tied to that person. When you're about to walk into a party, what do you feel? And you know, we have these pressures that you're talking about, and do you feel like you need to have a drink in order to ease that anxiety? Like, what type of coping mechanisms are you using?
Sure. I mean, walking into a party, I usually, like, I'm not trying to be like that. Like, I usually get invited, but every time I go and I'm at the door, I still think the barcode's not going to work. Like maybe it was a mistake, you know? And that's every time without fail. And then like once I'm in the party, like my thing isn't to drink. I just want to see my friends. Like that usually is what like calms me down. It's not like I don't usually drink because it tastes disgusting, and I actually can't like get over that. So yeah, it's just like I just look for a familiar face. It's less drinking. It's more of just like I want to be comfortable.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. First thing I do every time I walk into a party is find the most familiar face and talk to them until I find the next most familiar face, and like keep going from there just to feel comfortable, feel like you belong there. And I do definitely get what you're saying though about people feeling like they need to drink for a party. It's like everybody's first instinct is to go to the bar. Why? Because that's where everybody is. So it's like everybody's at the bar, they're talking at the bar, and then they're getting a drink because that's what you're supposed to do at a bar. And then people, next thing you know, are plastered, falling on their face and this and that. So if you're going to drink at a party, you know everybody knows that you're drinking and know everybody knows that you're drunk. I guess that's my takeaway.
For me, it's a little different. Like I mentioned before, I have a little bit of social anxiety. And so I used to go to parties thinking I need that one drink just to take the edge off, just to loosen up. And I also hate the taste. I'm not a drinker, but I just thought like that one drink was needed. And I remember going to one wedding where I just didn't get to the bar right away. I said hi to a few people or whatever it was. And that uneasy feeling went away on its own. And I realized that it was a total mental game. It was not a real thing that I needed the drink. It was that I created a habit that I thought I needed the drink.
I do feel the need to hold a drink. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, that's also a thing. Like just holding it kind of makes you feel better for some reason. But
yeah, it makes you feel like you fit in. You know what I mean? Like everybody has it around you. Oh, I should get. What are you drinking? Oh, I'm gonna hold this.
Yeah, and every so often, like I'll go to like the nearest plant and spill a little bit, and be like, just so it's not the same amount every time.
So, and I mean, what if that drink you were holding had seltzer and a lime, right? So sometimes it's kind of like, just like you're saying, having a familiar face, or you're feeling when that's really what you need, or you're walking into this event and you feel like maybe you should be holding something, but it doesn't necessarily, like, let's explore that a little, like that need to kind of feel like you're fitting in by holding a drink. And meanwhile, here are three incredible, courageous young adults who are saying, yeah, but I don't even like it. I'm just holding it. And I'm wondering how many people
I feel like it's just the
doing the same
next
thing.
Point of conversation is like, oh, you're talking to someone, the conversation kind of dies down. Oh, you want to get a drink? Like that's the next thing you just say. So you're holding that drink, and now that's that's just
I agree. I think it's a nice conversation, to continue conversation kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. Like why not go to the bar and what, like, are you a loser if you're getting seltzer? I don't know.
I don't necessarily aspire to the seltzer, just holding the seltzer belief. Like you're gonna want to get a drink because that's just what you do. You take a sip, you take two. It is what it is. But yeah, no, I'm not about, like, I would get the regular drink personally.
I don't mind. I'll do seltzer.
Those are some pressures that you're talking about, which is feeling the need to, there's a lull in the conversation. It's always a safe way to say, I guess, oh, let's just go walk to the bar, get a drink, or do that together. But what are some other pressures of parties? So maybe, is there to look a certain way, or I don't know, like, is there anything else that you feel like, or we could talk about when you're not on the list, or like Maurice had mentioned, like, but am I really on the list? Like, was it a real invite? Is there anything else that you want to talk about with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I personally, like Maurice said, so I'm very blessed. I'm lucky. I get included very often, and it's a great thing. But I know a lot of people who necessarily don't get the text right away, or working like before the party. Who do I know that knows this person and whatever? Generally, I take from it is if someone's going out of their way to text a friend to get invited to the thing, invite the person to the thing. They want to go to the thing. It's not that hard to have a couple more people at the party. But also a good point is if you're not on the first name basis and you don't know the person who's having the party, like maybe you shouldn't be going to the party, and like maybe you should look at like, oh, I get that people want to be included and everybody wants to be. It's the summer and everybody has these pressures like we were talking about, but not everybody could have everybody to every party and it be tenable. Like it has to be a party that's not overflowing somebody's backyard and 2,000 people being there. I don't know.
For sure. And also under like exploring that reason of course, everybody always wants to be included and on a list, and that exclusivity is very appealing, but also wondering, why do I feel the need to be there, especially if I don't know that person? And going to a party could sometimes be very anxious for me. And I'm going through all of these things. Like, why do I need to always be at that party? And I can tell you that I'm in my 30s and that feeling doesn't go away. It doesn't. There's always things that I'm not invited to, or I wish I was, or it looks so much fun. And sometimes I don't even want to go. I just want to be invited. And I'm wondering how you, at your age, you navigate those emotions, because I even struggle to navigate those emotions sometimes.
I could just jump in once. You said something funny. Like I always said, people always complain, I have so many weddings, I have so many things, blah, blah, blah. But then the second they're not invited to something, it's like, how am I not invited to this? Like, pick one. If you want to be included, you'll go. And if not, you don't want to go to the weddings. I understand. That's another thing.
That's a good point. I also kind of see parties as like, you don't have to be everywhere at every second. It's almost nice to have them here and there, almost like a day off from work or a vacation. You really appreciate them a lot more when you have them less. Yeah. So the less you go to parties, maybe you enjoy them more. That's kind of a perspective that I'm trying to take. And I don't feel as bad when I don't get invited.
You're so wise. I love the way that you look at
life. My mom taught me that.
I love that.
And this is going to sound so twisted, but like sometimes like I'll skip an event because I don't want to be everywhere all the time, because like I like me and my friends like have this like term, it's called like socially old, where if everyone sees you at everything and you're 22 years old, you're like 38 years old socially, and it's just like, all right, I had enough of this person, like I've seen them everywhere. So like you have to take strategically you have to take a few off. Yeah. and like whatever, it's twisted that like I think like that, but that's just what it is.
I think the same thing. Like, oh, but like now it's been the 3 weeks and whatever, so craving a party now. Yeah, can't wait.
Everyone's invited someday.
It's you got to skip the party sometimes. It's just too many.
But the 3 weeks is like another thing, right? Like, it's whoever's like able to travel in the summer, it's the best. It's like it's a lot of fun. It's the best. But no one travels outside of the 3 weeks because they want to go. They want to go to everything. So like, like who wouldn't rather be in like, let's just say Ibiza than in Deal? But because you feel like you have to be at every Sunday party, you'll only go in this 3 week period that's dictated that people can't have parties.
So you're saying there's a lot of like these social rules that are these unwritten rules, right? So you have this whole mathematical formula about how socially old you really are, versus when you could go on vacations, it's just these like these very real feelings that you have about all of these, how people might think of you, right? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, no, so many unspoken. I was like thinking of them in my brain. Like, if I have 2 drinks now at the pregame, maybe I should have 2 later there. Like, you're thinking of all these strategic. You don't want people to see you at the bar too much. You're like, everything is just this, like a pressure play. I don't know how to explain it differently.
Yeah. Wait. Sorry. And like, yeah. Like, imagine like I went away the weekend of well, I don't want to say the weekend, but there was a party this summer that if you looked at it the next day on Monday, it was the best party ever. And so like, imagine I was away and I saw that and I didn't go. I would have killed myself. Not actually. Sorry. I would have been beside myself. Yeah.
And feeling bad is feeling bad. Like, we're not taking away from that.
Yeah.
When you wait, that feeling could even last days or like you just feel very left out. So what's interesting is that you actually kind of answered this question in the reverse, but I'm asking it anyway. So what you're saying, what I'm hearing is that you're sometimes afraid of being overseen or overexposed. And I'm wondering if you're ever worried about needing to be seen at a certain event. So if you have, let's say you know, all of you're young adults, many of you here in the audience, you're all working and starting your careers and really building up who you are and your priorities. And is there ever a time where work conflicts with an event that you feel like you need to be at? Because if you're not at that party or you're not at that hangout, whatever it is, then you won't be invited to other things, or people might not know that you're really invited, and you have to show that you are. Is that ever something you think about?
I deal with that one every day, every single day. I have like a job that pretty demanding, and I work late sometimes of the weekend. Even like last night's a good example. I was exhausted and my friends were going out and I really wanted to go, but my body just literally collapsed out of my bed. I needed to go to sleep. And waking up the next morning, seeing like it looked like a great time, I wish I was there, but you can't be at everything. You have to figure out with your career, it's a tough balance. Like, I came from work straight here, like, is trying to figure out where to go.
Yeah, I think also, like you were saying, like you couldn't be there, but maybe you felt, or if I was in your situation, I'd kind of feel like I was expected to be there, or like my friends, thank you, my friends wanted to see me there, but I knew that I couldn't be there. So I think that boils down to priorities and how everyone's priorities maybe aren't the same. Maybe they're not aligned. And we kind of have to understand that like my priority can be work, school, socializing is at the bottom, or whatever it may be. And for someone else, it's in a different order. And so it's hard to understand that mentality. But I think if we understand that a little bit better, then maybe there won't be as many expectations.
I love that. So what you're saying is once you really think about who you are and what's important to you, it helps you make those decisions a lot faster, right? So you knew when to say, you know what, I need a rest, or I need to stop, or else I won't be successful.
Yeah, my dad is here. He makes fun of me a lot that like I'm my social life and my work life are equal parts in my life, and that I don't sacrifice one for the other, sometimes to my own good. And I that's something I've been working on a long time, is like trying to prioritize work, but at the same time keeping up with my friends, being with my friends. It's just a tough balance. Like, it's something I deal with all the time.
And I can tell you that this is really the time where you learn about who you are and what you're prioritizing, and it does get easier as you get older, and you really figure that out. So would you say that these pressures are coming mostly imposed on yourselves? Is it something that you feel comes from friends or even from parents, or like where does this really stem from? Is it equally balanced?
So I think that I want to frame this the right way, but I kind of think that for some people, like, their parents' social lives kind of leaks into their kids' social lives. And like, I guess like elaborate, where it's like, like obviously a lot of parents are always trying to do best for their kids, but sometimes like they want to be able to tell their own friends, like, oh my God, my kid got invited to this party. My kid is hanging out with this kid, got invited to this wedding, this thing. So they kind of nudge their kids, oh, make sure you're hanging out in this crew, taking out these kids, this and that. And it puts I think it puts a lot of pressure on the kids, I think.
So could you elaborate on why that might put pressure on kids?
Because sometimes kids like other people, so like they want to hang out with this kid, but that's not within the circle that their parents are asking them, and like obviously like most of the time the parents think it's for their own goods, like they don't think that that kid maybe is a good kid or maybe not a great influence, which their parents know their kids more than anyone. Nine times out of 10 they're probably right, but it just puts a lot of pressure on the kids.
So you have a few parents here in the audience, not many, but maybe some. What would you recommend that a parent or a child do in that situation? If not a child, I'm sorry, young adult, if one of you are feeling that kind of pressure where you're like, you don't want to go there, or you don't want them to text their friend to invite you to that place, or whatever it is, what would you say in that situation?
I think it's not easy, but trying to have a conversation about comfort is very important. Being comfortable around certain people versus others, in a certain home versus a different home. That level of being comfortable is just super important.
Yeah. I guess it really depends on the case. Like if it's my parents' best friend's kid, like, yeah, sure, I'd love to go to the party. I feel comfortable at the house. But if it's some random, they're going to call their friend who knows the friend to get me invited, I'd rather not go. It's just too much. It's too much pressure.
All right, so let's get into social media and community expectations and that topic. So Maurice, earlier you had mentioned that you saw a video of a party and how amazing it looked and how badly you would have felt had you not been there, but luckily you were. But how badly you would have felt. And what I'm wondering about social media is, does that add to the pressure? Does it contribute to that FOMO feeling? Or, I shouldn't post this, I should post this. Am I posting too much? Am I posting too little? What are your thoughts about that?
So, I mean, I guess I'll work backwards. So the posting too much is definitely like something I think about. I mean, not actively. I don't like really post on Instagram, but I don't want to like overdo it. And like as far as social media, to me, like I guess the worst, for lack of a better word, thing it does is it just like contributes to FOMO. Like I mentioned before, like had I not went, the first thing I would have done Monday morning was woke up, checked everyone's story, see how it looked, and when I saw when I saw it and I was there, I was like, wow, yeah, it really was that. It was like sick. So like if I wasn't there, it just would have been like, did I make the right choice? Or like if I wasn't invited, it was like, all right, what mistakes did I make in my life not to get invited to that party? No, it's like not even joking.
Yeah, no, that's real. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like something is posted that isn't necessarily depicting it as accurate as it seems?
999 times out of 1,000, like that one party was the exception to the rule. Like it's most of the time it's like I've been to this party. Like I don't even remember this song playing. It wasn't that good.
Right. And could be just something to always keep in mind when you do get that feeling of FOMO and you remember, wait a second, 99.9% of the time, it's really might not be as good as it looks. And did I really miss out? And it just could be a way to talk to yourself.
The best thing is when you miss a party and you see how good it looks on social media. And the next day you go to your friend who was there, worst party ever. Like literally the worst party ever. And then you feel better about it. Like I didn't really miss anything.
Yeah. So when you feel that way, is that something you do usually ask a friend who was there, or? I
mean, yeah, I wish I wouldn't. But of course, general habit would be like, oh, that looked so fun. How was that? Like what went on there? What was the action and stuff like that?
What are some other ways that you might cope with that feeling of missing out or not being included somewhere?
I think FOMO really does stem, like Maurice said, from social media. And unfortunately, social media is not something that we can all control. The posting and, talking about parties and things like that, like that's your platform. And ending that, I think it's almost impossible, right? Trying to lessen it maybe could be possible, but I think it's very difficult. And so a situation like this, the FOMO on social media, I'm very curious to see like how we can kind of help the situation, because I don't see it as being so easy.
Also, like the ones that jam me up the most are the ones that get posted the least, because that means it was so fun that you couldn't take your phone out to take a video. So that's a thing. So I guess it works both ways.
Yeah, you touched on something very important, right? The purpose, like being present at these events. So, and like you said, Sarina, you brought up earlier about just being comfortable and being happy and not going in and it being tied to so many other things. And maybe part of that solution is putting your phone away or not taking it out. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these issues that you're bringing up carry well into adulthood. And I know sometimes I'll take a break from social media. Is that ever something that you feel you can do, or?
I wish. I have the worst phone addiction. Anybody who knows me knows I play Subway Surfers when I'm talking to you. That's my thing. So I've been trying to be better about being present in a conversation while I'm talking to someone. But that's the first step of like not swiping through Instagram for 2 hours before bed, or TikTok or Snap, whatever it may be. And it's definitely something I deal with for sure.
Yeah. So I'm actually addicted to my phone, and if I told you what my screen time was, you actually like wouldn't believe me. It's double digits a day. And like I'm fully aware I'm addicted. I'm not going to do anything to change it. Like that's it. That's me. Like I'm on my screen. Like you're not going to change me. Like not you. Like yeah.
I actually try here and there to just delete Instagram, like not go off of it, because if it's on my phone, I'm going on. But I think if you like delete the app and it's not there, it's like, all right, it's not there. I'm not re-downloading and logging back in and all of that. It's not there. You're not touching it. I've done it a few times and I was off for a few hours, days, maybe. It's nice, but how long does it really last?
So just to talk more about expectations, do you ever feel like there are certain expectations in the community that they have of you at this age that you feel pressure to live up to? And do you think that they are they all realistic?
Well, I mean, the easy answer always is marriage. I mean, fortunately, like my family doesn't really pressure me, but where I feel the pressure is just like, you know, I love my friends, and you know, they're all getting married, they have kids, and like I want to keep communication with them. I want to have something to talk about with them. But like, you know, as life goes on, you kind of like, and you know, that like my pressure really is like I just want to hang out with my friends. I love my friends, like whatever. So the pressure for me is just more from like, because there's nothing wrong with it, but because in the community people get married young, and like if you don't, you're kind of like catching up. And like even like now, if I let's say I got married tomorrow, had a kid in 9-10 months, like I'm still behind my friends, and like there's always going to be that gap. Like, you know, they're going to have a kid that's getting bar mitzvahed, my kid's going to be not bar mitzvah age. So like there's always going to be a gap. So like that's kind of like the pressure for me.
It's like keeping up with the life cycle type thing,
Yeah.
right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
Yeah, similar to Maurice, thank God my family doesn't put any pressure on me when it comes to marriage. But I guess like I'm 20, right? I'm kind of age, and people get married at 18, 19. Maybe once I'm 22, it'd be late. Oh, who knows? There's like these, like you were saying before, unwritten rules and numbers that people kind of abide to in a way. And I think they're not so fair.
Yeah.
I think like everyone should be able to do everything at their own pace. Whether it's you want to finish school, you want to explore the world, you're not rushing into marriage because you just don't feel like you're ready for it. I think that should kind of apply to each person versus the general pressure that's just on you.
And to pick up on that, and what we were talking about earlier, is like the community-wide pressure is if you're seeing a girl for more than a couple of dates, you got to take it to the next level, and the next level after that. I think it steers guys away more than girls of like, I don't want to date in the community right now. I'm not ready to really even go to these parties because everybody's going to put pressure on me to take the next step where I don't want to be. So I feel like also girls can play, oh, the guys are never around. Where are the guys? Why are there no guys? And then it's like, because all that there is at these parties is pressure to get married. And it's just like, it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I hear that. Thank you all for sharing that. When we talk about pressure, and now it's going to get a little intense, but I've had, as a teacher and being in the community, I've had some conversations with young adults where they've shared that kind of these outrageous things are happening at parties that are no longer even considered outrageous. They're just becoming very normalized. And would you agree with that? Or would you want to elaborate? In what ways might that be happening?
Outrageous meaning Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, it's definitely becoming more ever present than it's ever been, for sure. I mean, I've only been around a couple of years for this scene, but now it's like every time you turn around, you hear of someone that did, you speak to someone that is, and I'm not here to like say anybody specifically because I don't actually go through this. My friends don't, but you know that it's picking up in the community, and I guess the only thing I would say is it's not needed to have a good time, I guess. I mean, but that's just me personally. I don't know about everybody else.
And I think why this is helpful is just acknowledging that the pressures that you three are talking about, I think, are felt by probably everybody in this room at one or another. Somebody here has felt something that you've described, right? It's normal to feel this way, and it's normal to have these pressures. And like you said, our community is so blessed that, and at the same time, we want to know that there are safe ways to cope with that, right? So like you said, talking to a friend, taking a break, things like that, for sure.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of it all boils down to like the desire to fit in. And like I know I like it's safe, so I guess like I'll bring up gambling. So like there's like, just as an example, there's this kid that's in high school that like I'm close with him, whatever, like I was helping him out with something, and his parents thought he was gambling because the principal of his high school told him that he was told him that he was, and it's like they asked me to speak to him, so I spoke to him, and like when we got down to it, like he wasn't gambling, he was telling his friends he was, because he thinks it's cool to gamble. Like it's not cool to win or lose money, it's just cool to gamble, and it's easy access, and like to me that was like I don't know, why would anyone admit he was telling his friends he lost money, like he wasn't even saying he was winning. So to me it was just like I realized like this, obviously this kid is like pretty insecure, and so is everyone, so like not everyone but at least myself, but it was just crazy like how gambling, which has damaged so many people, and it's definitely not a good thing to do, has become like has like a positive connotation to it, where like it's cool. And like part of it is, look, I'm addicted to fantasy football. Anyone that knows me knows I spend 10 to 15 hours a day during peak season on it, and like that's it. It's like part of the culture where like it's cool to be doing these things. So the fact that this kid felt he had to lie about gambling to fit in, and he's a popular kid, like, so like the fact that he felt like he had to do this was just like, you know, it really all to me just like boils down to the desire to just like fit in.
I think Maurice, you brought up the words cool and insecure in the same story, in the same sentence, and I think that reads a lot. Societal norms now are drinking is cool, drugs are cool, gambling is cool, but if you don't like that, you're only doing it to fit in, and you're only doing it because you're not confident, because you're insecure, right? Sorry, I don't mean to say you. I'm saying this is kind of how I feel. It's taken me a while. I'm still dealing with confidence, but it's taken me a while to be able to be true to myself and say, okay, I don't like the drink. I could do the seltzer, you know, things like that. You know, I don't have to feel like I'm doing the cool thing, because it's not really what's cool or what's not cool. It's just what's become, like you said, normal.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I don't have anything to add there. I completely agree.
Beautifully said, both of you, really. So I guess I'm wondering, I mean, Sarina, you brought up your mother earlier and how you repeated very wise words that she said. Who or what types of people do you look to for help when you're struggling with these things? You mentioned friends or family. You know, what advice might you give in that area?
So I don't think this is like a universal solution. I speak to a therapist once a week. I love it. I get to just talk about whatever, and there are times where we actually like talk about absolutely nothing that provides any value to my life, and that's totally fine. I don't think it's like for everyone. It's not. It's like but I find it like really helpful, and like anyone that like I think like at least the community has done like a really good job of like putting therapy in a very positive light, where I like just through speaking through people, a lot more people than I would have thought see a therapist. But that's like kind of how I managed that.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you for
for-
sharing.
I think for everyone, it's someone different, but just going to someone who you feel close with and comfortable with. So before I said my mom, and I'm very close to my parents, thank God. So I can speak to them about anything, really, really anything and everything. So that's who I turn to. But for some people, it might be a sibling. It could be a therapist. It can be a friend. It's just, I think someone that you're close to and feel like you can really open up to. That could be your go-to.
Yeah, I mix of both. Like my dad's like a dad and a therapist at the same time. So my parents are my best friends, and I speak to them about everything. But I have really good friends who I count on for, if I'm feeling left out about something, if I want to talk about something that's been bothering me. Friends, family, foundation is really key.
Right. So I'm hearing a lot of, someone you can trust, somebody who a cardinal rule that I always say is ask advice from somebody who is succeeding in that area, right? So if it's somebody who is a trained professional who really could help you through a difficult situation or a difficult feeling, then that makes sense, or a trusted parent or friend. If you could share, we'll take questions in a few minutes, but if you could share one main message or takeaway about pressure that you think our community needs to hear, what would it be?
All right, I guess I'll go. If you're dealing, okay, this is just what I do, but if you're dealing with something, and just not something major, but if you're dealing with maybe feeling left out or whatever, wear it on your sleeve. It's okay to be totally open and totally honest. People respect you for it. A lot of times people can tell when you're trying to hide something. So I think just wearing, it's okay to be sensitive. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be open. There's nothing, if some people think it's weak, I think it's actually the strongest thing you could do. So that's my takeaway.
I completely agree. There's so much strength in being vulnerable. It's so you're spot on. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think if you can try your best to just stay true to who you are, really, really be honest with yourself, not try to fit in or do what others expect you to do or do what others like. I think you'll really feel your best. You'll be the most comfortable you ever were, doing things at your own pace, things that benefit you. And I'm not saying, don't be nice to other people, but really looking out for yourself and staying true to who you are will put you in the best path, I think.
So for me, I think the point of it is I don't have all the answers, right? But what I started doing is to call myself out when I see that I'm doing something I don't like that I do all the time. So now it's something that I work on. If, let's say, I'm on my phone while I'm talking to someone and it's being rude and I don't like it when someone does it to me, it takes me a minute to really be conscious about it. But then I shut it and listen. That's something I've been working on recently. So really starting to call myself out on where I'm going wrong and fixing that about myself. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much, the three of you. Really incredible advice and just talking it out and being able to hear you so bravely talk about things that a lot of people are afraid to admit and afraid to say, and just normalizing these feelings that we all have. Is there anybody in the audience who has a question for any of the panelists or something that we didn't get to? Yeah. I just have something to add. I feel like everyone...
I feel like everyone thinks they're always in the spotlight in front and center. Thanks. I said I feel like everyone thinks they're in the spotlight in front and center and everyone's watching them. I think it's important to to know that you're not that important and not everyone is really looking at you. I think it takes the edge off of things and it makes people feel more comfortable. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That's so true, right? Sometimes you're thinking that everybody notices a stain or a rip in your shirt or whatever it is, and everybody's thinking the same thing about themselves. For sure. Thank you. Anybody else?
Oh, he's going over there.
What? No?
I know, but I want the kids to talk.
So I think that a lot of the pressures, one effect that the pressures have is that people are scared to approach other people. And I think also that people come off as, and it might just be my own fear telling me this, but that people come off as unapproachable. Yeah. So, I mean, how do we work on that as a community as for people to just give off a more open vibe? You can come talk to me, you know, I'm easy to talk to, as opposed to being kind of giving off a closed off vibe, you know.
So I'll answer something. So my friends always tell me that people always tell them that I'm unapproachable, which like sometimes it's a shock, but I know I am. It's just because like sometimes I put up like a closed front because I think that no one wants to approach me. So I just get out in front of it and then I just become unapproachable. So I think that everyone wants to be, like, maybe I'm not answering the question, but I think everyone wants to be approached, but everyone's kind of afraid to put themselves out there. And how do we deal with it? I have no idea.
Well, like we said earlier, this conversation is hopefully one of many conversations where we're opening up to the idea that everything that you're feeling, the next person is feeling and more walking into that party. And when you feel those nerves or whatever it is that's bothering you, and you look to the next person and remind yourself that person's experiencing this too, and we all are, and opening that up and beginning now, here and now.
So yeah, to add to that, like I try to work on being approachable. I feel like I'm generally pretty approachable, but somebody recently told me that they thought I wasn't approachable. Like somebody thought I wasn't approachable. I said, well, what am I doing wrong? Like, what do I like? So someone was like, people like it when you go up to them, even if you're not really friends with them, and you see them at a party, they look lost. Hi, name, like whoever you are. Hi, good to see you. I'm James. Like, no matter who, it doesn't really matter. They feel more comfortable, more welcome if they need to come up to you and talk to you, you know?
And sometimes it is more comfortable to speak to somebody who doesn't know you or isn't somebody that you'll see the next day. Or like, you know, when Maurice, we were talking about talking to somebody like a therapist or somebody outside. And that's also why an organization like SAFE exists. So you could always call and talk, and there's trained professionals and people there who you could always speak to. But
yeah, and by law they can't repeat what you say, which is nice because sometimes I like to say some messed up things. So knowing that it can't be repeated is really helpful.
So you brought up something very interesting a moment ago about doing things outside your comfort area. And in the business arena, some of the most successful business people say that if you really want to be exceedingly successful, you should go outside your comfort area. So take that to the social arena, and I think you'll really be very successful. But that actually wasn't my question. Earlier in the conversation, you said, I think specifically, James, you said something about having one date or two dates, and all of a sudden people start to presume, oh, this couple is getting married. So I'm wondering if a lot of that presumption is coming from the parents or the older community, or is it the younger? And my follow-on question to that is, what can the parents do better to help you guys ease some of that pressure? Because, you know, I'm hearing a lot of great conversations between all of you kids, which is amazing, and it you know, I think it's very healthy and productive. But I think there's a missing link here, and I think that the communication between the younger generation and the older generation, it doesn't always have to be a parent and child relationship. It could be an uncle, it could be an aunt, it could be an older coworker. But I think there's a communication breakdown between the generations that maybe we need to open our ears a little bit more to hear you guys more.
Yeah, no, definitely great question. It's something I deal with all the time. Is and I never, by the way, think it's the person I'm in the relationship with, right? So they're never rushing anything. All of a sudden, you think everything's going great, and then everybody around you is telling you, I heard you're getting married. I heard you know, I heard you taking things really seriously. And a lot of that has to go with parents being friends with parents, and it's just the talk of the town. Oh, these two, did you hear this one son, this one's daughter are together and it's going great? Or it's like just the general slew of the community. Your friends are talking to their friends now. They're getting excited. They feel like, oh, let's all hang out together. And it's just like 100 steps too quick. So I guess my only takeaway would be is like, everybody back up, like kind of like make like take 3 steps back and be like, this kid's only 20 something years old, you know, give him a chance to breathe and figure things out for himself. Yeah.
So your advice to parents would be to just hear you and listen, because we do want to keep that line of communication open where a young adult isn't afraid to tell a parent, I'm seeing so-and-so or whatever. But at the same time, for a parent to kind of respect that boundary of not repeating it, even if it's coming from the best place. Like I have with my own children who are much younger, but I brag about them in other ways because I'm so excited for them, and they're mortified. Like they're bright red and they can't believe that I maybe crossed that boundary.
Yeah, but also like it's also like not the parents' fault, right? Like what Maurice was saying earlier, like they're excited, their friend's kid is dating their kid. Like it's like it's interested, it feels good for them. So I guess just take it slower. Yeah, it feels like, oh, they're so happy for you, but at the same time it's like the pressure's on now, you know?
I think it actually goes back also to the pressure of getting married young. You know, if a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old were dating in this community, it's very easy to say, oh, those families work and the people work and they're getting married. But in the real world, there's no such thing, you know? It's like, oh, that's cute. They're dating, whatever it may be. They could date for 2-3 years, their boyfriend, girlfriend, and like, that's it, you know? Then you move on. I think if we can all kind of understand that dating without the label of marriage is acceptable, that would be great. That would be amazing. You know, you're allowed to date as friends. You don't need to get married. That's it.
Thank you. We have one over here.
All right. I don't want to be a hurt, and I know that whatever. But I was recently at a party and I was in the bathroom, and could probably all finish a sentence here. Somebody offered me drugs. And
Talking to the mic,
sorry. Oh wow, there's a big difference between here and here. Okay. So I was in the bathroom in a party, somebody offered me drugs. I've heard about it, I've never seen it. And when people would tell me like, oh, it's a real thing at parties, I'm like, no, it's not. I've never seen that in my life. Like, I've never seen it. I think it goes as bad as like alcohol, maybe some other like stuff, but not like drugs. This was drugs. And I kind of like the next day I called my friend and I was like, the old people will always say like, the earlier you get involved, the better things are going to work out. It's like you're not, and it's also like, it's a balance. Like it's not Ibiza and it's not Colombia, but it's like, it's deal. There's like 17-year-olds here. Like I felt like very uncomfortable about the idea of like it being at home and not away. I don't know. Almost. I'm just trying to remember if I had anything else. And then basically I was like, so what would you do in this situation? Because they say the earlier you get involved, the better things work out.
Wait, what do you mean by the earlier you get involved?
It's like if the guy doesn't come off as somebody who's really currently being damaged by his, like if it's really just for fun, which thank God in most cases it is, then it's like, I don't know, whatever. But like if you think like it can go somewhere.
Like coming from a place of safety for that person who offered you the drug. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us of what happened to you. What do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you think?
I'll
Or
start.
not, Maurice, but has that ever happened to
I'll
you?
start.
Or
Yeah, no, personally, it's never happened to me, but I've heard stories. And for me, it's like, I'm not going to go up to somebody and tell them, don't do that unless they're like my really good friend. Even if it's in the point of safety, I'll find that person's good friend and I'll say, hey, I saw this going on. I don't know if that's something you're aware of, but just flagging that for you, covering my own bases so that I feel better. But it's like, I've never seen it, but like you said, it's getting a lot worse. And if you're offered that at a deal party, like, I don't know what's next, right? Like, it's kind of crazy that that's happening.
It is. That's kind of what we meant by the outrageous is starting to happen. Like you said, that was always kind of offshore, but now in a party where there are people near you and young people who are very easily influenced, or what do you do? It's a tough question.
I think I agree with James. I think it's very hard to get involved personally, especially when it's someone you don't know. You want to help, you want to do something, you feel the need to do something because it's, it can turn into something bad. Maybe it's already at a bad level. So maybe finding someone that's close to that person and saying, hey, I saw X, Y, and Z, what's going on? Do we need to help him or her? Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, I mean, if I was ever approached, not that I have or haven't, but I would never come at it at an angle of, you're hurting yourself physically. I would always just say, I mean, look, there's people here. Don't be oblivious to the fact that no one knows. Ultimately, you're damaging your reputation more so than whatever is happening to your body. And like, just look at it like whatever. Like, do it not here. And obviously, like, I'm not giving them permission. Not that I have the authority to do so, to do it anywhere. Just like, like, be mindful of where you are, know who's watching, and know that everyone knows. Like, it's like, don't be oblivious to the fact, like, oh, I hide it very well. Like, I promise you don't. Like, you're sweating, okay? Yeah. You have an eye twitch. You're not hiding it. These things aren't in your control.
Yeah. And it's not like a cool thing to be, whatever the right word is, very high at a party. Like, you look like an idiot, very honestly.
I don't think we spoke about how religion ties into all these social stresses. Like, do you guys ever find that your religious level and like socializing butt heads, or anything like that?
So I'm not one to talk about this part. Maybe Sarina better than me, but I always hear girls say, like, I don't eat out, but if a guy asks me if I eat out because they want to take me out, like, what do I do? Because it's an issue, because there are guys, I might even be one of them, that don't want to take out a girl who doesn't eat out because it kind of limits like what I can eat. Like, I don't want to go to Mike's Bistro every night. Like, that's not what I want my life to be. Like, so I get it, like, that there's pressures as it relates to religion. But in another way, like, religion can kind of serve as a safe haven in the sense that it keeps you rooted. Just like when I was in college in Boston, like, what really kept me, like, not from going off the path, and I don't mean off the path of religion, just off the path of like life, was just knowing that there are things that are bigger than me, and like, just through like my faith in, I'm not the most religious guy, but my faith in community values and religious values more than the actual like mitzvah kept me like rooted to make sure that, I just didn't go too far. Like, it gave me my limits.
Yeah, something I'd add to that I heard a lot in the reverse is like girls saying, or guys saying, I would date that person, but they're not religious enough for me. Their family's not religious enough for me. Like, why would I fit into that family? I'd say to that part, like, give it a chance first. You don't know the person until you meet the person. Maybe that specific person in that family goes to rabbi class 3 times a week and you would never know. So that's something just to add.
I definitely agree with that. From the girl's point of view, it's a little frustrating to hear when a guy says, we're not on the same religious level, so I can't take you out or whatever it is. I'm a very big believer in don't stop your luck because something's not aligning. You know, you never know. You can be compatible and you can click, and then you figure it out together. You grow together. You know, it can work out.
So the one thing I want to add is people have like a checklist, right? But the thing is, you don't actually know what you want until you have it. I think as it relates to dating, like I might say I want a girl that does this or whatever and a bunch of different things. I'm probably going to marry a girl that does absolutely none of those things. That's just the reality. Like people always say like, you know, I want to marry this type of girl, and then they marry like the total opposite. Like the idea of a checklist to me is one, it's very limiting because how many people actually fit within your checklist, and two, it's like you're naive. Like who are you fooling?
Yeah, and I think not only our checklist, but like our parents' checklist, like not me specifically, but people's parents' checklist of like being, does the girl, like, do I know the parents? Are they friends with me? Or is it, do they eat out? Or are they going to fit in with the family? Do they know whatever? So like, let the kids be, you know, they're smart. They know who they are. They'll decide if they want this person in their life or not, you know?
Yeah, and just to add to that, so like last week I went to this event, but I think it was through the Ways Foundation, and the structure of the event was just like an open conversation amongst all 30, 40 people, whoever was there. Every single person who asked a question, like obviously the wording was different, but it was all the same, and like, you know, but my parents want me to do this, so what do I do? But my parents told me this, so what do I do? My parents don't like him or her, what do I do? It was like the same common denominator, just like a different way of saying it. So yeah, like just to add to what James said.
So I guess a takeaway for parents would be to help your child trust himself or herself to make these decisions with your guidance, but also empowering your children to say, if you see something in this person, there must be a reason why, because you know that these are our values and this is what you're finding. Or
yeah, and have faith in your ability to parent. Like they lived in your house for 17, 18 years under your guidance and tutelage, and trust that they listened. And if they are actually making a mistake, there's some value to letting them make the mistake, obviously as long as it doesn't go too far. There's like a lot to learn just from making mistakes.
I'm not a parent, so in 20 or whatever, how many years this idea can change. But I think also guide your child in the right direction, but let them grow. Let them have their freedom. Like Maurice said, make the mistakes, figure it out. That's how they'll become independent, and that's how they're going to be able to get married like you want them to, and have a house for themselves and build a family of their own. Otherwise, you keep babying them and make the decisions for them. They're never going to know how to live on their own.
Yeah, like imagine my mom, like I had told my mom that I was trading pictures on the internet for a living. Like I wouldn't have done it because she would have said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Like, just like have faith in like your children and like let them like do it or whatever.
I am really blown away by what you three are saying. You're really I don't know. I'm like getting emotional as a mother because you're just saying so many things that parents need to be reminded of all the time. So is there anybody else here who has a question? All right, so please, I think, join me in applauding our members.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.